A very good morning, students. Now, today we are going to deal in this session about joyful living, that is life skills and value education for standard 10. And we have 13 lessons in this value education book. And today we are going to deal with the first lesson, that is emotional maturity. Now, I'll start with the words of William Blake. One said that mind can make. A very good morning, students. Now, today we are going to deal in this session about joyful living. So that is life skills and value education for standard 10. And we have 13 lessons in this value education book. And today we are going to deal with the first lesson, that is emotional maturity. Now I'll start with the words of William Blake. Once said that mind can make heaven out of hell and hell out of heaven. You all know and understand that we are emotionally restless, isn't it? When we are emotionally restless or disturbed, you cannot sleep. Your experience of life is proportional to your emotional state. Don't keep the remote control of the emotion in the hands of someone else. And how shallow is life when you don't have the control on your own life? If someone tells you that you are very good, you feel very good. If someone says that you are trash, you feel the same. Is that right? Is that the right way? Are you letting someone else take complete control over your own life? We have to learn how to control our feelings in our own hands. There's always be a situations where you have to remain cool when people do sludging against you in your life. There will always be people criticizing you. Can you go and stop them? There is things out of our control when people think about you. Can you control situations? No. Criticizing, sludging, or the stimulus. And what do? We start reacting. Do you want to be a person who bursts out to any stimulus? Or a person who handles the situations in a matured way? So here comes the emotional maturity. So emotional maturity is necessary to handle the situation in a more responsible way. In a responsibility is something that you respond activity, isn't it? Now, what is emotional stability? Emotional stability is the ability to balance the emotion with reason. Now, you have to make responsible or reasonable responses. Now, for example, if you take a small child to a hospital for an injection, the small child is extremely afraid of injection, isn't it? When it looks at the nurse or an injection needle. Now, the child is not able to reason out. The fear far weighs his reason, isn't it? But an adult is able to reason out, right? So the child's behavior is childish and an adult's behavior is matured. If the adult behaves like a child, then the adult is immature, isn't it? So adults have to face strong emotions of fear, anxiety, pain, frustration. So these are the strong emotions, and the adults have to face it in a balanced way. So one should have sufficient reasoning capability to maintain the balance, isn't it? Now, if you see the emotional maturity in most of the situation, the emotional maturity is reactive than proactive. But emotional maturity is one being proactive rather than reactive. Proactive people are those who maintain a control over their choices in life. So when they face with different situations, they'll be able to choose their response. They take full responsibility for it. Responsibility can be understood as responsibility, the ability to choose your response. Now, what do you mean by this response? Now, if you come across a stimulus, you have to take and respond, isn't it? You have to handle the situations with responsibility. You cannot blame the situations or the events, but you have to handle the situations in a matured way. So that is called as emotional maturity. The stimulus that we are talking about uh, can be an external stimuli or the internal stimuli. So, either other people's behavior, environmental condition, economic situations, or it can be your perception, past experience, self imagination, or the values or the principles like the internal stimulus, or different kinds of sickness, loss in business, let down by a friend. So, these are the external stimulus. So, the stimulus can be of any type, internal or external. But emotional maturity is the choice that you choose to respond. If you are distressed about something, it is not that something that causes you pain. It is your perception, the estimation that you do about the situation cause you pain. For example, see the patient in the hospital. All are stuck in different types of illness, but each one responds in a different way. So it is the ability to choose our choices that makes us human. We are different from animals, isn't it? So we cannot react as animals, whereas humans can think and make their choices. Now let us see a story of two little fir trees where you can understand the fact, the adverse situations, the painful situations, the sufferings can make one stronger. It increases one's stability to face the situations with maturity and responds to the problems with calmness. Now, what's the story is about? It's a story about two little fir trees. There are two little fir trees that grow very quietly in a place where one tree was planted in sheltered and it is guarded by the huge trees. That is, this plant is placed in the center and it is guarded by the other huge trees, and the other plant was placed in an open space without any protection. On a cold winter day, with the cold winds blowing and the snows that is falling on its branches, the tree out in the open space looked as if it could not possibly, or it's very difficult for it to go stronger. The sheltered tree, on the other hand, grew very quickly because it was protected from all storms. Now, years later, when there were a great cyclone, the little sheltered tree was uprooted, was completely outrooted and thrown away. This is because this tree was so well taken care of and it had never struck its roots deeper and deeper and could not fit to stand alone. But the lonely tree, which was placed in an open space without any protection, spread its roots deeper and deeper in the ground and stood firm and unmoved in great storm. So, what do you learn from the story? The adverse situations, the painful situations, the suffering situations makes one stronger, isn't it? It increases one's ability to face the different situations, to tackle the different situations with calmness, with maturity, and your responsibility to the respond. Now, how do you respond to the situation? Is a responsibility, isn't it? And face people with confidence. People should think that pain and the adversity, the hardship of life is a fortune, which molds them, which makes them matured, which helps them to find golden opportunities even in the ruins. Now, here you can see an reactive response and a proactive response, isn't it? Most of the people gives a reactive response to indifferent situations or adverse situations. So emotional maturity is a proactive response than the reactive response. Now here is an Anne Frank, a Jewish girl who has faced a very great adverse situation and has come out of it as a better person. She and her, since she was a Jewish girl, she and her family lived cooped up, hidden for about 2 years in a house to escape from the Nazis. In history, you would have learned again under the Hitler rule, right? So all the Jews were in danger, and so they were hunted and killed by the Hitler's people, and they were sent to the concentration camp to die. Now, in spite of all these hardships in life, Anne Frank had a passionate gist for life. She made the best use of her time by writing stories, short stories, personal experiences, fables, which was full of wisdom and deeper religious sense of values. And that book became very famous, The Diary of Anne Frank. And this book was found after she and her family was taken away by the Nazis to die in the concentration camp. So the different situations, the hardships in life, the adverse situations, the painful situations is a great fortune, and you have to find the golden opportunities, make best use of the time, your goal in the ruins. God gives us opportunity to grow, and these adverse situations and the painful situations are great fortune. And these difficult situations brings about emotional maturity. Now, in your textbook, in page number 4 and 5, you have exercises, and in the exercise you have question 1, 2, 3, 4, nearly 4 questions, and these are very practical questions. You can find the answer for this. Read the question carefully and answer it. We'll meet you in the next session with the next chapter, that is the second chapter in value education. Thank you, children.